Hey everyone, it's Cam from Arsenal Theory here, and we're going to be doing a video today just covering some of the transfer shenanigans that's going around the internet, of which there's quite a lot. We're heading into the kind of silly season of things and trying to figure out what's true, what's false. Can be quite tricky because agents will put all sorts of things out there, and agents will link players to clubs that have no interest in them, obviously just to put the price up. And I suspect there's a lot of those kinds of weird things happening at the moment. So, in terms of Arsenal, we're getting linked with pretty much everyone, which is no surprise there. The main ones being Declan Rice, who we're told we're going to be putting a bid in after the Europa Conference League final, which is this week. Apparently, after that, the bid is going in. I would have thought. I would have thought by now it would have been a kind of done deal if there is a deal to be done behind the scenes. But maybe not. Maybe that isn't what's happened. I wouldn't be surprised if Man City come in just at the last minute and just whack 100 million down or something like that, and just take care of the business to add a good player to their squad, and also just to stop that player going to a rival as well. If you can weaken or stop your biggest rivals at the moment, which was Arsenal last season, from getting better as a squad and improve your own squad at the same time, then it's worth some extra money on a player in order to be able to do that. It's the sort of thing United used to do back in the day with Fergie, and I don't see any reason why City wouldn't be the same unless the player doesn't want to go to Man City. I'd be surprised if Declan Rice didn't want to go there, but City haven't really been linked with him at all. I've heard that they have Pep is an admirer of Declan Rice, and I know the Man City players are as well. But in terms of strong links, like he's been linked to Arsenal, hasn't been there, and that itself makes me suspicious that City are going to be going in. And there's probably some kind of domino effect going with several players, and it's just a case of waiting for the first domino to kind of fall, and then everything else will start coming into place. Now, in terms of which is the first domino to fall, it's hard to say, because there could be several suspects on what is the first domino to fall. So to give you an example, McAllister at Brighton, potentially he's the first one that will trigger a chain reaction. Supposedly Liverpool have done a deal for like 40-50 million, which sounds very low. It sounds very, very low ball. But maybe that's the one that gets the ball rolling, because then Brighton will have some money to spend, Liverpool would have strengthened, and also maybe the likes of West Ham and Brighton themselves are kind of waiting for that deal to be done, because that might increase the value of their play. Well, why would McAllister going to Liverpool affect the price of Rice? It could be because there's just one less good midfielder available on the market. Currently McAllister is available, but once he's signed for Liverpool, he won't be. So there's just one less player that you can get in that kind of position. Same with Caicedo. Apparently Brighton are asking for around the 100 million mark, because they're probably looking at Declan Rice and going, well, we feel he's just as capable of a player, and believe that they can potentially get that kind of money for him. So the Caicedo deal is a very strange one, in that he was on very little money. He was on like 100 grand a week or something like that up until just before January, and he signed a new deal, and Arsenal obviously went in for him for January and they didn't go, and he signed a new deal. But I just cannot believe that the agent wouldn't have put in some kind of release clause or some kind of guarantee on something in the summer. It doesn't sound like there's anything like that there, which is why Brighton feel like they could get close to the £100 million for him. So maybe Caicedo's the domino, or maybe it's Declan Rice, or it could be even Granit Xhaka. Apparently Arsenal won't sign off on Xhaka leaving until we've got our replacement lined up. So maybe that's the one that kind of gets everything going. So but like I said, every hour there's just new information coming out. It's just really hard to understand what's real and what's not, and we won't really know until the deals are signed, and the transfer window closes. But obviously, that's not going to stop us talking about things, because that'd be very boring, wouldn't it? So there's a bit of a midfield merry-go-round happening, and I suspect once the Champions League final is finished, that next week or the week after, that's when I believe things will really start to kind of hot up. One potential kind of good thing maybe for Arsenal is that there are quite a few clubs now potentially looking at getting some striking options. And the reason I say why is that good for Arsenal, the reason I think it's good for us is because we're not especially looking for one. Now, there's an argument to say we should be. We should be looking to upgrade in the number 9 department. But for whatever reason, the club feels that the midfield and defence is more a priority right now. And they're kind of going to leave that maybe for a season or two. I wouldn't want to be trying to buy a striker in this market, this window, because Man United need a striker. Chelsea need a striker. Real Madrid need a striker. Paris Saint-Germain will need a striker. Potentially, I mean, maybe not Barcelona, because it looks like Messi might be going there. I imagine Bayern Munich will probably be on the lookout as well. So that's 5 of the biggest clubs in Europe, and a lot of them with very, very deep pockets. We're not going to be getting into a bidding war for any players from for those clubs. So I wouldn't want to be in this market looking for a striker right now, because there's not that many players to go around. You've got the likes of Harry Kane, you've got Osimhen. You don't even really have Ivan Toney, because he's banned until next year, so he's off the market. However, those clubs will fill those voids, and they'll have to pay an awful lot of money to do it. And then when we're ready for our striker, which will probably be not this season coming up, but the one after, we should have a clearer run at it, I would have thought, in theory. That's why it's called Arsenal theory. But reality obviously doesn't always follow theory, does it? So it could all turn to shite. But I do think it's better to be in this position. I'd rather we were trying to fill the midfield slots than the striker slots at the moment. Also, it creates a really good secondary market for Arsenal, because we have either Eddie, Nketiah or Balogun that needs to go. And I saw online some people getting upset on some valuations of what Balogun should be sold for, and a lot of people thinking, well, we should be getting 60, 70, 80 million euros for him, and it's just not realistic for him to go for that money. If we do get, I imagine it will probably be around the 30, 35 million pound mark. I could see why people would want more. However, I think we can get more money by just building it into the deal. So, wherever he goes, if it's Napoli or AC Milan or maybe a Dortmund type level, RB Leipzig type level club, or a kind of a Premier League team looking to improve, Villa have got, I can't remember the guy's name now up front at Villa, if that comes back to me, but Villa have got strikers up front, but they might be looking to add to that now when they've got a European campaign to go for. West Ham definitely need a striker. So you kind of think maybe with Balogun and Rice something can be worked out there. But there's plenty of opportunity for sell-on clauses, or, if the club reach a certain amount of points, then Arsenal get a bonus, resale value, buyback clauses. There's plenty of ways for Arsenal to get that kind of 30, 35 million and maybe increase it to 50 million. Because the next club Balogun moves to, if he bangs, that's not going to be his last move. Okay, he's going to get another move after that. So we'll have to wait and see on that one. In terms of the kind of domino effect, could it be Harry Kane? Benzema has come out and said that he's leaving Real Madrid. They were going to have to replace him eventually, because he's in his nearly mid-30s now. So what are the options for Madrid? You've got Osimhen, you've got Harry Kane. The big rumours are that they're going to go in for Kane. I imagine if they're going to do a deal for him, that probably won't happen till right towards the end of the transfer window, which is a difficult one that for Spurs, because they may end up not being able to charge as much, I feel, because the time will be running out. And do Real Madrid need a striker more than Spurs need that money within a time frame that they can spend it? I don't know. I don't know the answer to that, but it is one of the questions to be had. And are Man United prepared to go to a bidding war with Real Madrid in order to get Harry Kane? Because it's going to cost them an awful lot of money. And United have deep pockets, and United could do it, and they probably should do it as well. If it costs them a oneer, it costs them a oneer. I mean, if you spent 60 on Casemiro as a kind of 30-year-old, I mean, would you spend an extra 40 on Harry Kane? I mean, he's just going to get you 25, 30 goals in a season if you play to his strengths. So it's definitely got to be worth considering. In terms of contract renewals, still no news on Saliba. The only things that have been coming out really are, apparently, he wants to stay. The agents are a bit kind of perplexed at some of the Arsenal figures that Arsenal have been quoting them, but believe maybe it can be worked out and do a deal with image rights, etc. We don't really know. We don't really know what's going on behind the scenes. Clubs and agents leak to the press alike, so they all do it. I mean, just last week, Xavi Simons, who's at is it Feyenoord? I think it's at Feyenoord of PSV, and was being Arsenal have met the release clause, or Arsenal are about to do the deal for him. Arteta really wants him, and today, because he's up there from loan from PSG, today he's going back to PSG. So people just spread all sorts of rubbish. And one interesting thing about Saliba's agent, though, is apparently Saliba's agent's only got one client, which is obviously William Saliba. I don't know how true that is, but I've read that from several different places. So if he has just got one client, that'd be really odd. I mean, talk about having all your eggs in one basket. So we'll have to see. I mean, I do wonder how much Saliba's injury, if it has any effect on the contract renewal they're trying to do. We have no idea how bad it is, but he's been out for a long time now. I mean, we're talking like 3 months, something like that. It's been a while, and so he's, if what the club know is that there's a concern over him, they're probably going to want to put games played into his contract as well. And maybe he doesn't feel that's fair, so some stuff to tie up in that. And I think on the next video, what I might do is a kind of an ins and outs, or an outs. Sorry, actually, just not an ins, just an outs of the players that really we should be getting rid of, and for how much. And at what point do you go, okay, well, actually, we might as well keep them then. I'll give you just a quick preview into that. Someone like Kieran Tierney, anything under 35 million, I don't see the point in selling him. Really don't. It's just the clubs that are being linked to him as well, the likes of sort of Newcastle, very, very deep pockets, a direct rival as well, no less. There's got to be a tax to pay on that. There really has, and he shouldn't be going for any less than 40. I don't think. If it begins with a 4, then I can live with it, because we still have to replace him and Tomiyasu as well, but that's not going to happen because he's injured till September, isn't he? So anyway, maybe that'll be the next one. The Arsenal outs, who needs to go. And just a quick thing on obviously it was a big weekend in the FA Cup. Man City beat United 2-1. I've been very surprised at some of the reactions I've seen from United fans, specifically the likes of like Goldbridge, who really basted his team afterwards. I mean, he accused them of lack of character, not being bothered, and all sorts of stuff. And I watched the game, and I thought I thought United did really well to keep it to 2-1, especially having gone 1-0 down after 13 seconds. You're kind of thinking, oh, it's going to be like 3 or 4 half time. If that had been Arsenal, it would have been 3 or 4 at half time probably. But they hung in there and they managed to get. I mean, it was never a penalty. It should never have been a penalty. But they got back into the game, and I didn't think they did as badly as people think. I would say that Jadon Sancho, very very poor. They're saddled with him. I don't know what they're going to do with him, because no one's going to give them any money for him. It's just the money it would cost. You would have to sell him. You'd only get like half the value of what you paid for him at the moment, and then you've got his wages on top. It's just not worth it for someone trying to buy him, unless maybe someone like Spurs wanted to do a deal where, okay, you get Harry Kane, but we get Sancho back, and that takes like 30 million off the price of Kane. But I can't see Spurs doing that. Would Spurs take kind of 70 million plus Sancho? Would United want to take that kind of hit on Sancho plus the wages? Just no. He's stuck there. He is stuck there for a long time. I think he earns like 300 grand a week, which is just an outrageous amount of money, and such a shame. Such a great player at Dortmund, and just can't seem to get going. When an 18-year-old like Garnacho is kind of showing you up, then there's questions to be had really. But I thought United. I mean, City were always going to win that game, but I didn't think United did as badly as some people were making out. But I know what it's like in the heat of the moment. I've said all sorts of things about Arsenal, then afterwards, kind of thought, oh, maybe I went too far there. So one more game for City to potentially complete the treble, and that's actually a good idea for another video. Is the achievements of the bigger clubs like City, United, Arsenal, Chelsea, Liverpool, and why those clubs are considered big clubs, and teams like Spurs, for example, are not. Although I did learn a fact about Spurs today. Apparently I heard Rory Jennings say this, that they were the first team to ever do the double, which I'll be honest, I never knew. I mean, it was years ago. I mean, it was like, I don't know when it was, in the 50s or 60s or something. But he said they were the first team to ever do the double. So, you know what? I need to double check that. No pun intended, because it didn't sound quite true to me. But if City do the treble, then they've won sort of 3 league titles back to back, and doing a treble is pretty mad. But it would also mean that there's still only one club to go unbeaten all season, and that's Arsenal. So yeah, we'll always have that until someone else does it. So hopefully it'll be us that do it again. But I'll leave it at that. Sorry it's been so long on the videos. Been a lot of stuff going on at home. It was my birthday as well, and been very, very busy and all sorts of things. But hopefully things are back to normal now, and we can get a bit more regular with stuff. So should see you tomorrow. And if you like the video, please press like, please subscribe, and thank you very much. Cheers. Bye-bye.